growing the crops and all that is just one part, one facet, but maybe put a lot more focus into adding value to the agricultural produce and focusing on things like now export of the value-added items. And in that way, I think young people would be more willing to get on board with agriculture. Maybe it is the perception, but you know, that's the thing that happens when you have mentorship, when you have education, when people are more enlightened and they see that this is not just about, you know, going to the farm, picking tea, picking coffee or something like that, then they see there's a lot more value to it. But also in agriculture, there's the issue of middlemen that have affected a lot of the industries. Right. And I think government just needs to put more effort in streamlining processes so that farmers can actually get value for all the work that they put in. A lot of the times you find that farmers who put in a lot of work get very little, and middlemen tend to reap a lot more benefits. And maybe as a young person growing up, if you saw your parents go through that, maybe those are some of the things that discourage you. Because,
to pursue that industry,
to pursue,
right?
Because you've seen how much work they've put in, and you look at what they get and you think, no, this is not for me. I'd rather pursue a different line. And that is why it should be a balance between both private sector and government to see how these processes can be streamlined so that more and more young people can get on board. I mean, there are success stories that we see, but maybe we need to get these stories onto the mainstream media platform so that young people can actually get inspired and get on board.
Okay, speaking of inspiration, ladies, I want you to hear this. So Betty Maina was appointed the new CS of industrialization, bringing Uhuru's cabinet, women in cabinet, to around 7. If you look at the chief administrative officers, 8 out of 15 are also women. But at the end of the day, 7 out of a 21-member team is still a bit too far from gender equality. Would you not say that so, Honorable Shollei?
No, I think it's great progress. I think I've said in this particular show that Uhuru's cabinet was unconstitutional, and also his whole government was unconstitutional. But the fact that he now has at least met the 1/3 gender principle, it is progress. And I've mentioned that I'm very proud of Uhuru Kenyatta now. I was upset with him a few years, the last 1 year, but now, I mean, even when you look at the way he's done his cabinet reshuffle, you can see there's a deliberate way that he's trying to beef up his Big Four agenda. He has put youth in ICT because they're the drivers of ICT. He has deliberately thought through the way he has reorganized his cabinet. So we can see that that actually we are going to see, I mean, I was very happy. So the women are actually in look, women are in defense, industrialization, foreign affairs, you know, I mean, that is progress. So yeah, water and sanitation, because those are the things that affect women in Kenya. Water and sanitation, the people who suffer most are women. So the fact that he's put a woman there, we know that we have light at the end of the tunnel. And I've been hearing every day about BBI until I said, what happened to Big Four? I've been asking that question. But now the cabinet reshuffle, I can see he's refocusing on Big Four. Because BBI is not going to put food on our table. BBI is not going to increase the economy. BBI is not going to give jobs to Kenyans. BBI is not going to deal with the collapse of the tea sector, the coffee sector, the maize sector, the milk industry. It's not going to change that.
All right.
But now you can see that he was refocusing on the Big Four agenda. And I'm happy.
All right.
And then even just the changes on NHIF, it also shows that he's listening to Kenyans. Because how do you pass a law and say that you can only have 5 children? Which Kenyan has 5 children? We all know. We all have more than 5 children. So the fact that he revoked those regulations, it also means he's listening to Kenyans. So kudos to President Uhuru Kenyatta.
Okay, you know, we could be telling our top boss kudos for the, you know, increasing more women in your cabinet, but then the same parliament which you two belong into has now failed 3 times to pass the 2/3 gender rule. We are women seated on this table. Are we fooling ourselves?
Well, we have not, I would say, and I will maybe defend them. It's not that they have refused or they have been unable. I think all the efforts have been done. And
we are outnumbered in parliament as women.
As women. So for me, that's where BBI comes in. I have said if BBI will give us mixed member proportionate in how to enter that parliament, we will achieve our numbers. So for us women, all we are doing is look what the men are doing. You know, when you look at them, you'll find 40 men will speak, 8 or 5 men will 5 women are speaking. We have to be very careful also. So it is a trend that we must look. But for me, I first want to thank His Excellency the President. The thing we need to now ask the ministers is that the President is doing his part. What is your part in fulfilling the Big Four? Because you cannot work in a ministry and start again dealing with health matters,
right?
I don't know, housing matters. It is now his team. And that is why we keep on reminding them, you are a team. And if the team cannot work together, then you have a problem. But if the team agrees that this is what we want to achieve, they will achieve. And they will ensure the President achieves his legacy.
2 years to his legacy.
And he has, one of the things I've told everyone, the year 2020 is a year of fulfillment. Our President will have a fulfillment in one of the things he wishes. The only thing we must remember, as we focus, it is not our might, it is not our strength. It is God who has decided Kenya must refocus back.
I hear you, Speaker, but he has 2 years. Do you think within those 2 years he'll be able to put women, he'll be able to even put more women in government? What is it that Rwanda, Ethiopia are doing that we are not doing?
It's just because we have refused. It is just a political will. There's nothing else. It's a political will. That's why we are saying, let's watch.
Okay.
Maybe one of his legacies will be, he left now when women have a framework to how to have their numbers in parliament. Yes.
Okay, with this cabinet reshuffle, we saw former CS of Agriculture, Kiunjuri, having to go home. He said over and over again in his press statement, but also in the paid advertisements on the local dailies the following day, I'm not going anywhere. Should we expect to see more of Kiunjuri, Honorable Shollei?
Yes, okay, first of all, you must know something about Mwangi Kiunjuri. He's a formidable politician.
Hence my question.
He was going to be a governor. The President requested him not to run in politics so that he can appoint him. The President said it in a public
candidate
forum.
for Mount Kenya, wouldn't you not say?
No, I'm not talking about candidate for 2022. I'm just saying him as a person is a formidable politician. This guy has been in politics since he was in university. I taught him law at the University of Nairobi. I know him. So he's not going anywhere. You know, you can be sacked by the President, but the people you need is the wananchi. If the wananchi are with you, ogopa raia.
So Kasanga, I saw you sort of nodding your head in agreement.
No, I'm agreeing with what she's saying. It is the people truly who decide. If he's sure he's not going anywhere, maybe he knows, you know, how much support he has on the ground.
If you have the ground, there's nothing anyone can do to you, not even the President.
Yesterday I asked this question and our male legislators failed to answer it.
Why?
No, not the one I'm about to ask you next.
Okay.
Speaker, the one I'm about to ask you next. The firing or the sacking of Kiunjuri, was it a political one? Is it a witch hunt, or it was more of a leadership issue that President Uhuru Kenyatta was addressing?
Maybe it was a balance of both, I would think, because as a leader in that ministry, I believe he was undermining his capacity and the intent of the President, because he has presided over corruption and making a mockery on the locust issue. And the locust issue is not a small issue.
Right.
That is something threatening, you know, the Big Four agenda where food sustainability is under. So in my opinion, he trivialized it. I mean, it was a big joke in the country. We were constantly laughing, not because it's funny, but because of the ridiculousness of the whole thing and the way it was handled. So I can see from that side how the President then would get so angry, because we're talking about food here. We're talking about Kenyans' livelihoods, and we're talking about his legacy on the Big Four agenda.
And the President threatened to fire him in a public forum. You remember?
Even before, yes.
So,
in fact, he dared the President.
It was not a shock.
Yeah,
I mean, we're wondering when he's going to do it, because he has been saying it.
Speaker, I want to hear from you. Was this a witch hunt or sorry, yes, Senator?
Just one last thing is, you know, the law, 12 powers of law. I mean,
48 hours 48 powers of law.
48 powers of law. You cannot undermine your master. You cannot do that. You're just asking for it. And I think he was asking for it, and he was given.
Speaker, do you also stand with Senator Kasanga on that one? Was he for you? Do you believe his sacking was more of a leadership one, more of a witch hunt and a political one?
I think for 1 year they've had
A row with the president.
a row where sometimes he will come, you'll find him so disappointed at one point and just puts all the heat on it, and therefore, but I always believe everything has a season. And I'm hoping Honorable Kiunjuri will look at it that way.
Well, he did say for every action there's a reaction.
I don't think I'll not advise, but if it was me, I'll not go for reactions. For what? I will tell God, this was my season. I have done it. I have entered a new season. Now show me the way. Go back on the ground. Start working. Honorable Iguru did the same. Governor Charity Ngilu did the same. Go do the same. Keep cool and continue. Now go to the people. But if you want to make it, you know, I will remind ourselves what our mentor, the late Mishuki, used to tell us. That you don't fight a government. Do not. And all of us, especially when you have worked in government, you have a skeleton somewhere. That skeleton is always kept, and I know she can tell you, it is just dusted. And it is kept. It is dusted. One day, you had even forgotten about it. It is put on the table, and you're wondering, but this I did 40 years ago. How would it come? That's a government. You do not. So for me, I always say in government, when time has come, because also it is not your seat.
Exactly.
When you are the only one who has been born in Kenya, you'll just sit on this seat. No. We should always remember that. It is not.
Right.
It is just an opportunity at a time you've given. Use that opportunity to serve well, so that when you go out, people will remember you with your legacy.
Okay,
period.
Here's the thing, Vivian, and we've already said it here on this table, that, you know, for the past 1 year, the relationship between Kiunjuri and his boss hasn't been this sweetest.
Hasn't been rosy.
Hasn't been rosy, exactly. But here's the thing, he is a big supporter of the DP. It is well known. He's also against the BBI. Is this sucking a blow to the DP? Wouldn't you not say so?
I wouldn't say so. I think it now gives him room. You know, if he felt he was handcuffed or his hands were tied to a certain extent, because his position ideally as CS is a presidential appointment, so you're working for the president and for the people of Kenya. But you see, once you leave that office, you're no longer beholden, so to speak, to the president, meaning you can take a position contrary to maybe what the president would expect, and you could be able to get away with it. Plus, I also think, like earlier you mentioned about when we're talking about whether he's going anywhere, I think it's his constitutional right also to pursue whichever direction he decides to pursue. And he's still young, so he can pursue whichever direction he chooses to.
Senators say that at the end of the day, it is the people who decide whether he's still in the game, whether he's still relevant to Kenya's politics. Here's the thing. So tomorrow, yesterday he was CS of Agriculture, sacked for lack of incompetence. Tomorrow he's on the ground vying for a seat. The same Kenyans will vote him in. Are we serious about our leadership as Kenyans from a voter's perspective?
Our problems begin. I think we take voting and election to be a one-day thing, when it's ideally a process where you get to elect leaders who will determine how your life progresses administratively for the next 5 years or 10 years, depending on how long you keep electing these leaders. So if we felt as a country that he made a mockery of something that was very dear to us, like food security, I mean, the locust invasion is a big deal. So are we going to use that as the only determinant to his abilities in leadership? Or is there more to it? I mean, as Kenyans, I think we need to go deeper and decide what kind of leader are we looking for? I mean, where do we want to go? What are our hopes and aspirations? And what kind of leaders represent these hopes and aspirations? I know for one, we are tired of corruption. And we are tired of a lot of talk and not seeing actions, you know, translating to the common person on the ground. And if you feel that this person is the one who embodies, you know, your hopes and aspirations, then it's okay, you can exercise your democratic right. But really, IBC should take up this thing of civic education very, very very seriously. I think it needs to stop being something just done 6 months or 3 months to a general election, to being done continuously, so that we understand. But I think the other thing that really needs to be looked at is that Chapter 6, the Integrity Act, because there's no way of enforcing it. I mean, it's there, but there's really... People are cleared to vie only later on for it to be discovered, oh, you know, you actually had some things in your closet. So there are things that need to be really keenly looked at as we're talking about BBI, as we're talking about reforms. I think reforms in the IBC are very, very critical.
Here's the thing, Vivian, and I want you to have the last say on this because we're going on a commercial break.
Yes.
On this issue for the 2/3, given President Uhuru Kenyatta's recent cabinet reshuffle,
yes.
Given how it has also flopped in Parliament, do you think that for the success of the 2/3 gender, should it be on elective seats or on appointed seats?
I think to begin with, we have to start from somewhere. So we've tried elective seats for several years. It hasn't quite worked. So in the beginning, I think we should give women a chance by having appointive seats and maybe transition to elective seats once we have a system that works. Right now, we don't have a system, and the truth is it's very difficult for women to get in. I know some people feel that women are not a minority, but they are. You can tell from the numbers that have been elected, right from the grassroots all the way to the presidency. You can tell from how many women were able to vie and how many women got elected.
Beautiful. That's a good note to leave it at on. I want you who is watching at home to be part of this conversation, whether it's what you've just had here, when we're talking about the cabinet reshuffle, the relationship between Kiunjuri and his boss. I want you to give in your thoughts. When we come back from this short commercial break, we'll dive into the next part, budget cuts. Earlier on, I told you CS Yatani wants to cut down 100 billion Kenyan shillings. 600 billion Kenyan shillings is our current deficit fund as a country. In short, we are living beyond our means. And here's the thing, these austerity measures that CS Yatani is continuing to pursue were brought about in September 2019. Whether they've had a positive effect on the economy or not, we'll be talking about that. These cuts will be affecting ministries, parastatal and state agencies. I want your thoughts. 22422 is our SMS line at Citizen TV Kenya.